So hello, welcome to stage 56, assembling the right hip joint. Now we will be using 2 new screws in this particular build. I normally keep my screws in my little screw pot, and I do like to make nice little labels. I haven't had time to make the labels yet, so I've just put temporary labels up, but I will be replacing those. However, it will act as a nice little identifier. So the parts that we receive in this issue, part 56-1 hip joint, now that is made of metal. And what I notice about this build is the plastic pieces are very nice, but obviously the plastic isn't quite so strong, but they use plastic when they don't need the strength. But when it is needed for strength, it will be metal, and so this is obviously going to need some strength to it, hence it's made of metal. So part 56-2 is the inner casing for the hip joint, and that's this piece, and this is I wouldn't call it rubber, but it acts like rubber. It doesn't feel like it's like a very hard rubber. It's got very high shore hardness, but it is rubbery. 56-3 outer casing for hip joint, and it's got a bulge to it, so I guess that's going to be going over that. We've done similar joints to that before, and this is made of that same very high shore hardness of rubber. 56-4 is the domed cap for the hip joint, and this is the same shape as the previous piece, except it's made out of metal instead of rubber. And 56-5, this is a rather interesting little piece because it looks like a disc in the magazine, but it's actually like a cap, and it's called outer cap for the hip joint, and that's metal. And then we get 2 kinds of screws, so let me just get those open, and they're easily, although they're all in the same packet, we can easily identify them because one is the 5 PM 2x18mm and 2 PM 3x8mm, so I can easily identify the big fat 3mm ones, and there's only 2 of them, and as you can see there's a world of difference between them and the PM 2x18mm. So I'll leave these on the table for now because they're not going to go anywhere, and then I'll pop the spare ones away when we finish the build. So step 1, we need to take the thigh assembly from stage 55, and they've actually placed it this way around, and placed it in the orientation as shown. So we're looking for this piece that we fitted in the previous issue, we want that downwards. Fit the inner hip casing 56-2, which is this piece, into the opening for the hip joint. The flat surface is upwards as shown. So you see here we have a raised surface, and then we have a flat surface. So that flat surface needs to be up, and you'll see that that will fit into that hole there. So all we need to do, and I'll probably place my finger inside it because I've got the right size finger, and we just need to line that up so the little cutouts, they're going to go around the screw holes like so. And once that's in, I can take my finger out and I can push it all the way through. Now that is going to fall out if I tip it up, but can you see it just poking through there, the little black inner ring? So next we want to fit the hip joint 56-1 inside the joint opening so that it sits in the inner joint casing 56-2, and all that's going to happen is that's going to pop in like that, and you'll see that that pokes out the other side. So next we need to take the model assembly from stage 54 and identify the hip socket 51-2. So this is the point. I'm just going to move some of my pieces just to give me a little bit more room on the desk. Excuse me. And then I'm going to just bring bring in the beast. Can I call in the beast? So we need to identify the hip socket, which is here. I am twisting this a little bit. I don't want to twist it too much. So step 4, we need to place this into the hip joint there, as so. Now there are 2 notches I see in this little joint there, and that I will therefore assume, yes. So in there, I don't know if you can see, yes. So going from a 9 o'clock to a 3 o'clock position, or 3 o'clock to 9, you can just see 2 lines. Those 2 lines want to go across there. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to place this in roughly in the correct position. I think that'll be about right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab that hip joint and we're going to twist it. Let me see what happens if I put it in the wrong position. So if I put it in the wrong position, yes, perfect. I don't know if you can see and hear that. If you have it in the wrong position, that hip joint will move. As soon as you find the correct position, it will just fall into place, and then it locks in place, and then you know it's in properly. So that's held in there for now. Then what we want to do is take the outer hip joint casing 56.3 over the ball of the hip joint 56.1, so that the notches around the edges will line up. And this is now getting difficult to show you, but what we're going to do is we're going to place that in. I can see this is trying to move, so make sure that's still in place. So we now want to place that in so that, you see that's incorrect, because we want the little screw holes. Let's just rotate that a bit. So there, you see that the screw holes are starting to appear, and then that will just slip in like so. Just like that. Simple as that. So step 7, we now need to take the metal domed hip joint cap 56.4 over the casing 56.3. Again, the notches need to fit around the raised screw socket, so we're going to place that into there like so. And this is difficult to rotate, so I'm just going to get a little bit of assistance. I should really be using pliers, and I'm just going to rotate that around until it's in the correct position, and I can just push that down a little bit, and you see that's now in place. So the next thing, step 8, we now need to take the outer cap for the hip joint 56.5, and note that these are slightly raised parts. And so basically we want to take, you see that we've got 4 screw holes, they now need to line up over, and they are slightly raised, aren't they? So just want to lift that out and have another look. Right, so I think we're going to be needing to push this down a bit, so we need to line that up properly, make sure everything stays in place. And that's not lined up with the screw holes. Now it is lined up. There we go. So the next stage is that we need to take the 4 PM 2x18mm screws, which are these longer screws, and they need to be placed in like so. And you need to turn these gently. The reason you need to turn them gently is, if you remember, I haven't glued in my nut on the opposite side, so we need to make sure we're not pushing that nut out, and this is actually really tricky for some reason. There we go. I think the first screw is going to be difficult to get in because everything needs to be lined up. Right. Once everything is lined up, everything will come into place. Right, and that has not connected. So I may need to be doing a dry run. Right. To be honest with you, now that I've got this bit in, I think it's going to be easier to place this in. There we go. Right. So let's try again. Did I drop a screw? I think I dropped. Yeah, there it is. So. As I say, just getting the first screw in will be trickier because you need it all lined up. If it's not quite lined up, that first screw isn't going to connect. And that still isn't connecting. Right, let's do a dry run without this cap. Lovely. So that screw is definitely, the nut is still in place. So maybe I just need to push a little bit harder. Maybe I need to just, you know, find it. Maybe I didn't have the screw lined up properly. There's quite a few reasons why this may not have worked. So let's try again. And I think once we actually get it lined up, that screw kind of falls into place. Right, that sounds like it's connecting. Well, it feels like it's connecting. I'm not sure though. So that's just pop tape. Okay. You know, I think I need a thinner screwdriver. So there we go. I don't think that's connecting, guys. It's not connecting, right. That's interesting, right. So sorry guys, I don't seem to be able to get these in. I'm so concerned about how we're going to connect this leg. Have I missed something out? Right, I have actually missed a stage out. I do apologise. Right, so yeah, I've actually made a mistake. So before we've done all of this, when we pop this this joint in, we do actually need to screw this in. So it wasn't making sense. So going back to step 2, 3, 4 and then 5, when we pop this ball joint in, we do actually need to secure it. So I do apologise. So we're going to be popping this, I've got the wrong size screw head as well. This is really a bit of a disaster. So bear with me guys. Okay, so yes, so step 5, we need to take a PM 3x8mm screw and we're going to pop that into the socket. And I do apologise, I've really gone wrong on this one. So I'm just popping that in. That's connecting. So there's quite a narrow thread on this, so you will need quite a few turns of the screw, and that's moving freely. obviously it will move freely. We will have leg muscles that will control it more. So to recap then, step 6, we need to take part 56.3, and that needs to go over that like so, and I'm just manipulating that with my screwdriver, and that's going to pop in. Make sure it does go all the way in, all the way down to that joint. The next step is this ball cap, and that's going to go in again. Make sure that clears those screw holes, and that goes all the way in. And then lastly, this cap goes in, and that will actually cover the holes. And this is where I've just struggled earlier, wasn't it? And I say it's just getting that first one in, and I've just found a cheat, guys. So if you pop your screw in, just line that up with the screw there, and we'll give that, because these screws are so long, they're, oh no, that's not gone in. Right, so keep your screwdriver on the screw, give it a couple of turns, then position that in, then we can screw this in, and it's still not connecting. Right, so I am having a terrible time here. Because that's not lining up, and I don't understand why. Right. Right. Okay guys, so right, I'm going to cut the camera. I'm going to just have a little bit of a dig around, and I'm going to try and find out what's gone wrong. I'll see you shortly. Okay, so I've had a little look at it. I've taken it apart, I've put it back together again. I've managed to get one screw in, and the only thing I can think of is where I'm placing that screw in, I'm pushing down, and that's pushing the ball joint up, which is lifting this piece up. So therefore there's not enough room for it to reach one of the screws. So what I've done this time around, I've placed the one screw in, but as I'm screwing it in, I've actually got my hands behind the leg, and I'm lifting the leg up, and then I'm screwing it in. And there we go, that one's gone in absolutely fine. So that's the only thing I can think of. I just think the action, when we screw a screw in, we naturally push down, and obviously there's a ball joint in there. We need enough space in there. Now if that ball joint is pushing up, the top bit isn't going to come down enough, and I think there's not enough clearance, there's not much clearance with this screw. There's just enough, the nut will be there where my fingers are, so with that ball joint pushing up, it's only enabling the screw head to come down this far, if that makes sense. So what I've done, I got the first one, and you've just seen me do the second screw. This one should be fine because I've got the first two in. Yep, that's gone in absolutely fine. And then we'll pop the last screw in, and now do this at your own caution. I have been advised by people who are ahead of me, people who've done it the Hachette version, to leave the leg off. I am building this as per the magazine, and I think this would be quite difficult to do. I'm looking at it and thinking, well, if I do it with the leg off, will it cause any problems when we come to put it on? Because remember, doing this bit, we've got to screw the ball joint in first, and then we've got to put the casing on the top. But I'm rather happy with that. I think we can possibly work round it if it gets too large, because remember, this is this is a multi-position model, and this is just fallen out. So if I propped it up correctly, like you can see, although he's on his back, I've now got him in a sitting position. So it might be that perhaps I can sit him on the corner of the desk. I've got a larger than average desk, so I do have more space. So the actual desk space that I've got, you see I've got his head there, and there's his leg, and I've got an extra foot, a foot in length. So let me just move my camera. So this is the amount of space I've got. His head is on the mat, so I'm a little bit luckier than some in that I've got extra room to work with. I do apologise, my camera's just slipped. It's got this funny automatic orientation, so if you knock it, it will just very quickly knock into portrait mode. Right, so we're going to do a quick, let's use the word repair job. So yeah, I'm now beginning to get a bit unhappy about that because it's rather loose. However, you can see from this piece here there's still more work to do on that, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just concerned. So yeah, that's that leg piece in, and at the moment it's free moving because we haven't got any extra muscles attached to it. You can see, I can see lots of screw holes, so I can see that something's going to happen. But that is stage complete, and he really is growing now, isn't he? So obviously I guess we're going to continue with this right leg. We've got the right arm in place. So if we cut him there, if perhaps I did a bit of Photoshop and I cut him there and then took the photo and then flipped it over and then superimposed it over, we've pretty much got a complete Terminator, haven't we? So we can see what's left to do, but then again we are also stage 56, which is we're only 4 stages away from halfway complete. So I'm kind of expecting a half complete Terminator. So as you can see, he is pretty much half complete. So exciting stuff. Let me just pop my screws away as I'm talking. Exciting stuff. It's looking really nice. I actually enjoyed that issue because we've done an awful lot of short issues, and they've not really been challenging. This bit posed a real challenge for me today. It just, in the end, I see sometimes people are very quick to blame the publishers or the manufacturers. I tend to try not to do that until I can find out what the problem is. I was struggling with this, but it turns out it was my own working practices, and where I'm pushing with screwdriver, it's actually giving me less space. But that's in now, and that looks absolutely perfect. It looks like I've got a little bit of something in there. I don't know if you can see that reddening. So it looks like it's gone rusty, but it's not rusty because this is all plastic. Right guys, so I am extremely happy with that. That's 56 complete. The next stage is stage 57, finishing the right hip joint and assembling a leg part. And we will need the model assembly from the previous stage and the Allen key that we got from stage 26. How excited are you all now? So guys, I will catch you next week, or in the next video, sorry. I can't remember my release schedule. So this is 56. So yes guys, I will catch you next week. Let's say we will be doing stage 57, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Take care. Bye bye.